I run Weight Loss with Edward, and I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about weight loss, but also how to get life feeling healthier. Let me just check this here for a second. Forgive me for a moment. There we go. And there we are. So I talk about the 5 pillars of health and how they affect your life for the better. So nutrition, hydration, movement, sleep, and mind. So on the eating side of things, what I recommend to people is that if you can not eat too early in the day, and you can eat not too late at night, and not eat too much, and not eat too much sugar, then you can lose weight and get life feeling better. So if you imagine that you eat your evening meal around 6 or 7 p.m., let's say you finished consuming calories by 7 p.m., then your body would get to work using up the calories that you'd consumed, and eventually your body would run out of consumed calories for an energy source. When your body runs out of consumed calories, it still needs energy to keep you alive. So what it does is it dips into the spare supply that you have on your body, and that is fat cells. So when in the past you have eaten more calories than your body requires, your body has to do something with that excess energy. And so it creates little cells, and there's a little bit of energy and a little bit of fluid in them, and that's a fat cell. So if you have consistently brought in more energy than your body currently requires, your body will create more and more fat cells, and so you will be a bit bigger. If you eat your evening meal and then no calories after that, then about 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, midnight, sometime around then, your body will have finished using up the calories that you've consumed and will switch to using fat cells as an energy source. So it breaks open the fat cell, releases the energy, and your body is fueled through the night, and you burn fat as you sleep. The number one thing that people do that makes losing weight really difficult or gaining weight really easy is the little snack between your evening meal and bed. The reason why that is so troublesome is if you think about the things that people normally eat in that little snack, it's toast, it's hot chocolate, it's wine, it's sweeties, it's chocolate, it's biscuits. It's all things that ultimately are sugar, because sadly, carbohydrates are sugar as well as sugar is sugar. When you consume carbohydrates or sugar, your body breaks that down into a substance called glycogen, the body's version of sugar. Think of it that way. Your liver absorbs that glycogen, and your body cannot burn fat while it is breaking down that sugar. And so if you imagine that nature's intention is that we consume by day and that we undo by night, we consume our calories during the day, into the evening our body's using up those calories that you've eaten that day, and then it even burns a little bit of fat through the night, and then the next day begins. So if you consume by day, undo by night, consume by day, undo by night, then your weight shouldn't fluctuate too much. If you consume by day and then insert a bit of sugar in the latter part of the day, and your body, instead of undoing by night, spends the night breaking down sugar, it's really easy over a week or a month or a year or 10 years to put on lots and lots and lots of weight, because your body is spending every night breaking down sugar when it could be burning fat. So once your body has run out of consumed calories and switched to running on burning fat cells, the more consecutive hours that you have until your first calorie comes in, so that could be a splash of milk or breakfast, your body has been running purely on burning the fat cells as the energy source. The moment that you have that splash of milk or that bit of breakfast or whatever it might be, because there is an energy source coming in, your body no longer uses the spare supply, the fat cells, as the energy source, and switches back to using consumed calories as the energy source. So if you can hold off till, say, 10 a.m. in the morning before consuming any calories, your body has had plenty time the night before to use up those consumed calories, to switch over to running on burning fat cells, and then continue that process for a good few hours, thus burning fat. So not too early, not too late, not too much. Now, if you're a bodybuilder and you're trying to get bigger, you have to bring in extra calories, more than your body currently requires, and use that energy for building muscle. The same is true when you're going in the other direction. Your body requires, at the size that you are right now, a certain number of calories to be alive for 24 hours. If you bring in that number, you basically won't get bigger and you won't get smaller. If you bring in an excess of that number, your body will store the excess and will create fat and you'll get bigger. So being in a calorific deficit means bringing in less fuel than your body currently requires so that it has to break up some fat cells to keep fueling your body. So if you are a person whose maintenance number of calories was 2,000 calories, that would mean that every day, if you're eating roughly 2,000 calories, you won't get bigger and you won't get smaller. If you then started bringing in 1,500 calories a day instead, your body would have to burn 500 calories worth of fat every single day, and you would get smaller. And you would keep getting smaller until you became the size of someone whose maintenance calories were 1,500 calories a day. Now, one of the major issues with the diet industry and diets in general is that you may be feeling uncomfortable in your own skin and you recognize that you're carrying a bit of extra weight and that you want to lose it. So you decide you're going to do a new routine. So you change your habits and you follow this new routine and the weight comes off. Just like any race that has a finish line, when you reach target, if you take your foot off the gas and you stop, the only place that you have to go back to for your eating is normal. Normal is the thing that put the weight on in the first place and meant that you had to go on a diet. So if you do your new routine and you get the weight off, and then you stop the new routine because the weight is off, you go back to normal. When you go back to normal, you eat the food that makes you go back to where you were. Oh, 1 second. Hi, David. Excuse me. Hey, David, how you doing, mate? And so, yeah, that's the problem with diets. You do the thing until the weight's off and then you stop. What you'd be better doing is introducing little changes. So let's say, as a rule of thumb, I don't consume calories after 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And that's something that forevermore is part of your daily routine. Every morning I throw on some, joggers and stuff and I go for a walk. Because when you go for a walk in the morning, the energy required to go for a walk can't come from consumed calories. If you haven't consumed any calories, they were used up the night before. So you're going for a walk and you're fueling that walk purely on burning fat cells. Therefore, you burn fat really quickly by doing a little bit of exercise in the morning. So getting up every morning and going for a 5-minute walk, or even a walk, some laps of the garden before you get going on your day, is something that you could then pretty much carry on for years and years and years and years. Trying to get to bed a little bit earlier. There are lots of things that make life better. So what I talk about, the 5 pillars: nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, and mind. Anything that's good for any of them, the more of that. Yeah, I'm good. The more of the good stuff that you do in your life, the better life gets. That's just a fact of life. So nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, and mind. If you can write them down and look at how you could improve each of them a little bit, life gets better. So hydration, 2 to 3 liters of water a day on average is pretty darn good for you. Sleep, how many hours? There's a lot of debate about that. But if you're sitting up till midnight scrolling, then you're wasting hours that could be used getting weight off, giving you more energy the next day, letting your body do some more healing because it wants to do healing. But the problem with lack of sleep is when you sleep, your cortisol levels, the hormone, the stress hormone, they fall through the floor. When you are awake, they perk right up and they're more present in your body. So the more awake and the more stressed you are, the more cortisol is in your body. If you've ever had insomnia, you know how stressful that can be. And so if you if you're sitting up all night wishing you could get to sleep, or if you're sitting up all night, on social media, then your cortisol levels are higher. The problem with cortisol is it tricks your body into producing sugar. Your body can't burn fat until it's broken down any sugar in the body. Therefore, you really don't want to be awake too many hours, especially when most of the weight that you lose is done while you're asleep. The more sleep, the more losses. If you could add an hour's sleep most nights for a month, there could be a 10 or 20 pounds difference in your weight, in your waistline or your score on the scales. Sleep matters. Movement matters. As I was just mentioning, if you go for a walk in the morning and you're in a fasted state, then you're burning straight off of your fat supplies to fuel that walk. If you go for a walk or do some exercise after you've eaten, or maybe a gentle walk would be the best thing there, your body will be using up the consumed calories that you've just had from that food previously, and it will be helping digestion because the way that food is moved through the stomach, movement, you moving around, helps that process. Any exercise is better anytime you do it. The more muscle you have on your body, if you're doing some weights and things like that, the more muscle you have on your body, the more your body burns calories just by you being alive, because to keep muscle on your body burns a lot of calories. The more that you tone, so you're strengthening your core or your lower back, the better your posture, the better you look. So you look slimmer and your clothes fit on you better simply by toning up a little bit. So exercise is great whenever you do it. No, you do not have to exercise to lose weight. Definitely. I've heard various numbers bandied around, but I would say 90% what you eat and when you eat it, and 10% exercise. So I work with a lot of people who don't do a lot of exercise at all, but they are beginning to get new habits in their eating, and maybe they're improving their sleep and resisting temptation a little bit more frequently. They're getting the weight off, no problem. And a natural progression for a lot of them is they then want to add a little bit of exercise and movement into their day, but that's not a requisite for getting the weight off. On the food side of things, so not too early, not too late, not too much, not too much sugar. Now you can calculate every calorie, every gram of carb if you want to. NutriCheck, MyFitnessPal, those things really help with that. But there are easier ways to do it. I don't add any calories or count any calories or anything like that. If you put an evening meal in front of you and you ask yourself, is that a sensible portion for someone trying to lose weight? You'll probably get an answer. And if the answer is maybe, that means no. So if it's a portion that's sensible for someone who's trying to lose weight, and then you said to yourself, is that a sensible portion for someone who's trying to lose weight? The answer would be yes. Absolutely yes. And so we don't need to calculate and count every calorie. We know what eating less looks like if we're honest with ourselves. So just be honest and try to eat a little bit less. As I mentioned about the body has to break down sugar before it can burn any fat, the sad news is that carbohydrates are sugar once they're broken down in the body. So bread, pasta, rice, root veg, fruit, all of these things contain sugar. Now, I'm not suggesting that fruit is bad for you. Fiber, vitamins, minerals, there's lots of things in fruit that's really good for you. But if for the purposes of trying to get weight off, you're trying to reduce your sugar intake, you have to be mindful that it doesn't matter good sugars and bad sugars. They get broken down into glycogen, the body's version of sugar. The liver absorbs that glycogen and it has to empty of glycogen before you can burn fat. Because while there's a quick energy source for your body, that sugar, it will use that up before it gets around to burning fat. So if you can reduce, not remove, but reduce your carb and sugar intake, you will speed up your weight loss and be healthier in general. One thing that many people do is they get up in the morning, tea or coffee or fruit juice or toast or cereal or porridge here in Scotland. And so we spike our blood sugars with sugar or with carbs. They go through the roof and then they crash about mid-morning and we need a little something to pick us up and keep us going. So we have a little something and it spikes our blood sugars and then they crash about lunchtime. And then mid-afternoon the same, we've spiked our blood sugars at lunch with a sandwich, with a bag of crisps, with a little sweetie, with a bit of fruit. Blood sugars are through the roof. About 3 or 4 in the afternoon, need a little something again because our blood sugars have crashed. Same at the evening meal, and then about 8 o'clock at night. So all day long, we're spiking and crashing and spiking and crashing our blood sugars. Not good for our energy levels. It ends up affecting our sleep, ends up affecting our mood. And so it's just generally not very good for you to eat as frequently as that, for lots of reasons. Stodgy, starchy carbs, your bread, pasta, rice, too many potatoes. They cause bloating, so you are physically bigger after you've eaten those. Interrupt digestion, because so if you imagine a bit of bread in a glass of water, it puffs up and it fills and it's like stodgy. That's what happens in your stomach, and it interrupts other things being digested properly. Most human beings, all human beings, I would argue, are gluten intolerant. Some of us tolerate it better than others, but generally, a lot of people who have IBS-like symptoms, when they cut back on their gluten or their stodgy, starchy carbs, they find that their bowels behave a lot better. It affects mood, it affects sleep, it affects skin. And so stodgy, starchy carbs, and of course it affects weight loss. They're not terrible, they're not the worst thing, but they will slow down your weight loss journey and they will make life feel a little bit worse. 1 second. Okay, David, not to worry. Yeah, all good, man. And so, yeah, look at the 5 pillars. Now, what I've also found is that the diet industry, it talks about can't. It talks about can't do this, shouldn't do that. And I know I'm saying cut back on this and maybe a bit less of that. But in the language that you use, we are doing ourselves a disservice and making our own journey more difficult. The deeper part of our mind that controls our behavior doesn't understand language. It speaks in symbols and pictures and things. So if all diets involve language of can't do that, shouldn't do that, won't do that, bad to do that, I'm wrong to do that, you are holding up a picture of the thing that you're not meant to do and can't do. So let's say, don't have a Kit Kat, don't have a Kit Kat, don't have a Kit Kat. The bit of your brain that drives behavior doesn't understand don't. It just sees a picture of a Kit Kat. It's far more likely to then go and have the Kit Kat because you're doing that process. And so at Weight Loss With Edward, we've kind of come up with this process where we break down the 24-hour cycle into nutrition hours and healing hours. And so your nutrition hours are, let's say, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, everybody's different, but just to pick some numbers. Within 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. are the hours in which you consume your calories for the day. They are nutrition hours, and your focus should be on how many good, nutritious, colourful, interesting, tasty foods can I get in? Not a competition at how much you can eat, but making sure that that's your focus, to find the foods that you really enjoy, that don't cause bloating, that don't spike and crash your blood sugars, really healthy, colourful foods. Then, when your nutrition hours finish for the day, your healing hours begin. When your healing hours begin, again, it's not now I can't eat, now I can't eat, now I can't eat, because you're convincing your brain to eat or making it want to by telling it that it can't, because it doesn't understand can't. So instead, think of, what can I do that's good for my mind or my body? So it's an early night, it's run a bath, it's phone a friend, it's be in nature, it's meditate, it's journal, it's do something that's good for your mind or your body. They are all healing things, as is an early night. The body wants to do healing, and it heals at its best when you're asleep. And so going to bed 2 hours earlier, even if you're, reading for a while or whatever, and then getting a good night's sleep, is the best thing that you can do for healing your body. So if you're thinking of a 24-hour clock and 10 till 7 are your nutrition hours, and all the other hours are healing hours, the more consecutive healing hours you have, the more healing your body does, including burning fat. And so that's a nice positive. Now, I mean negative in the sense of can'ts and don'ts and won'ts, not negative as in nasty, and positive as in proactive doing things. So your nutrition hours, you're proactively seeking healthy, nutritious, delicious foods. During your healing hours, you are proactively seeking things that are good for you, that promote healing and make you well. Now remember, nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, and mind. The mind is a hugely valuable or harmful tool. Most of us would agree that if you were well rested, if you were well organized, if you felt unstoppable, and if you were happy, it would be really easy to consistently make good food choices. Many of us are exhausted, stressed to the nines, running from pillar to post, and don't like ourselves very much. That's why it's really hard to resist temptation. That's why it's really easy to put in a pizza for tea instead of making a salmon stir fry or sit and eating chocolate biscuits. Because is it lonely? Is it sad? Is it bored? Is it habit? The head's the most important part of any weight loss journey or health journey or anything you want to achieve in life. Now, think of a car for a moment. If you don't check the tires and you don't check the oil and you don't clean it on the inside or the outside and you don't get it serviced, what are the chances of that car running well or looking good? Probably slim to none. You are exactly the same. So if you don't spend any time, effort, energy, or love on you, it is very unlikely that you're going to feel good or look good. And so I know many of us spend all our time running around after everyone else, trying to get them organized, trying to keep them afloat. But we are running on empty. Self-preservation is not selfishness. If you want life to get better and feel better and be happier and slimmer, then you have to prioritize your own needs at least a little bit. Because if you're at the bottom of the priority list and you're looking after everyone else, those jobs may get done, but then more jobs arrive. So even if you hoover the house, the need to hoover is coming back in a fortnight or a week or however, whenever it might be. And the washing never ends and meal times never end and school runs never end. And so you sit at the bottom of the priority list, and it's partly because we think we don't matter. Everyone else is more important than us, and it's not true. If you want life to feel better, give 5% of your time and energy to you with an early night, with running a bath, with preparing your meals, taking something to work with you to eat at lunchtime, those sorts of things. And when you feel better, when you are happier within yourself, you then bring a better version of you to the world. And therefore, everyone benefits when you look after yourself properly. So it may feel like the honorable thing to do to just run on empty and be miserable and a bit, stressed out and impatient. But in actual fact, it's a kindness to those around you as well as yourself to look after yourself properly. So it's well worth spending a little bit of time on you. As I said, the 5 pillars: nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, and mind. Don't eat too much. Don't eat too much sugar. Recognize that carbohydrates are sugar as well. So I don't have a sweet tooth. I like a crisp roll rather than a piece of chocolate. The crisp roll breaks down into sugar the same as the chocolate does. And so your stodgy, starchy carbs, your obvious sugary things, if you could have no calories between 7 or 8 p.m. every night and bedtime, so black tea, black coffee, not that I would recommend black coffee at night, but black tea, black coffee, herbal tea, fruit tea, sugar-free drinks or water, and there's a discussion about sugar-free drinks to be had about overall health, but for the purposes of not having any calories to get the weight off, you can then look at maybe taking out artificial sweetener out of your life after the weight's off. But if it gets you through, then have it while the weight's coming off. Have them until morning. Hold off a little while until you can have that first calorie the next morning. Don't overfill your plate. You're not going to starve. There's a famous story about a guy in Scotland who went into hospital and he was very much overweight and didn't consume a calorie for a year, was on essentially a saline drip for a year and didn't consume a single calorie, and walked out of the hospital a year later just a slim and healthy man. Which makes us think, well, if we have fat on our body, we're certainly not going to starve because we have all the energy that we need on our body. Remember, fat is just calories you've consumed in the past. You couldn't use them up because you've brought in too many, so your body's storing them for a rainy day. By being in a calorific deficit and by having a cut off when you stop consuming calories for the day, your body gets a chance to use up the consumed calories and then switch to using your spare energy supply, your fat cells, as an energy source, so you burn fat all night. So if you can combine not eating too early, not eating too late, not eating too much, and not eating too much sugar, the weight can come off nice and easily. But the other parts, the nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, and mind, they all make life better. So if you wrote them down and had a think about one little thing that you could do to make each one of those better, life would get better for sure. You matter. You matter. And so you cannot neglect yourself and life get better. So if you are watching this and you're unhappy with your weight or you're unhappy with life, you are allowed to look after you. It's not selfishness, it's self-preservation. And remember, if you are feeling happier and more confident and more outgoing, you will find that you are better company, you are more help to those around you. So at Weight Loss with Edward, we tackle all of this. So yes, meal plans and daily recipes and shopping lists and all the support that you need on the foods, what's best to avoid having too often, when's best to eat, how do we work around that work routine or whatever it is in your life that's making things tricky. But also, are you coping? Are you sleeping? Do you like yourself? These things are the things that dictate whether or not you can make good food choices consistently. And so how we do that is we do it with one-to-one calls. We've got a community chat on WhatsApp where people help each other out. And if someone's having a bad day, it helps other people, realize that it's not just them. If someone's having a good day, it can inspire others. Some people share pictures of their lunches and things. So that helps people with ideas. So not feeling alone on your journey also makes a massive difference. I hear all the time that a little bit of belief in you, a little bit of accountability, a little bit of information, these go a huge way in helping a weight loss journey. We run classes every night, so they're on Zoom. People don't have to attend, but they're recorded, so they're made available afterwards. But things like getting ready for the week ahead, peer support, a personal development workshop, meal planning classes. I'm a hypnotherapist, so I run a hypnosis class once a week for weight loss hypnosis. So we're tackling all of the different parts of life that make life better. Think of carrying more weight than you would like to is kind of like a symptom of life not quite being as you would like it. If you can make life more as you would like it to be, it's really, the weight just comes off as part of that process. It's moving more, it's staying hydrated, it's not comfort eating, it's getting better sleep. All of these things come together to make life feel better. And a symptom of life or a result of life feeling better is weight comes off nice and easily. So yeah, cut down on your carbs. I'm not saying do the keto diet or the Atkins diet. They recommend under 20 grams of carbs a day. That's quite extreme. It's really restrictive, not really that great for you long term anyway. But we're not saying do the keto diet. We're saying sugar stops weight loss because you have to break down sugar before you can burn fat. Therefore, if you reduce your sugar, maybe a piece of fruit a day, not 5 or 6, then your body can get through the calories you've consumed and get into fat burning mode and burn fat all night nice and easily. Just be honest with yourself. When the evening meal is served, ask yourself, is that a sensible portion for someone trying to lose weight? If you're not sure, take off a third of that and look at it again. Is that a sensible portion for someone trying to lose weight? Until you can categorically say, yes, that's a sensible portion for someone trying to lose weight. You can do it. Think, how many people do you think feel crap? Now it could be life stuff, tired, stressed, lonely, whatever it might be. So they feel crap, so they eat crap. Because of eating crap, they feel crap, so they eat crap. Years and years and years that can go on for. Just this cycle of the choices we make us feel rubbish. Because we feel rubbish, we make rubbish choices, and round we go. If you spend one day making a big effort, so let's say you hold off till 10 a.m. before having any calories. You take your lunch to work, so it's not a Greg's, but it's a box of salad that you've taken and some meat and cheese and stuff. So you had a nice healthy lunch and you haven't spiked and crashed your blood sugar, so you're feeling a little bit better from that. You're doing your very best, and so there's a bit of purpose in your life on that day. Maybe in the evening, you have your evening meal, you go for a short walk, you hop in the bath, and you get an early night. because you're slightly earlier in your bed and you've been for a walk, so it's slightly tired you out, and you've maybe slept a little bit longer or a little bit better, and you've not been messing about with your blood sugars as much, so your sleep quality will be better. You wake up in the morning, and not only do you feel more refreshed and you haven't got the sugar hangover, the scales have moved 2 or 3 pounds. And you think, holy moly, maybe I'm not hopeless. Well, damn right, I'm going to do that again today. And so instead of feeling rubbish and eating rubbish and feeling rubbish and eating rubbish, even if it takes a bit of concerted effort on that first day, making a good choice, getting the reward, making a good choice, getting the reward, and recognizing the more good choices you make, the better life gets. There's a massive motivator to keep making good choices. And it can be the cornerstone of self-worth. I'm not hopeless. Maybe I can achieve this. Maybe I will fit into those clothes at the back of the wardrobe. And so Weight Loss with Edward, we help people with all of that, with managing sleep, with what to take to work, what's some quick and easy meals, what's good to serve the family that's not cooking 2 different meals, but you just have it slightly amended in a tiny way. Managing life and managing food, but managing life makes all of life better. And you are worth putting some time and effort into. Life can be so much better than you realize. It just takes a little bit of concerted effort. And so if you have any questions, if you want any help, you don't have to come on board, but if you want some advice or guidance on how to make life better, get in touch. We'll have a chat. I'll send you some meal ideas, or we'll look at your work week and see how you can manage eating at the right times around that. There's lots that you can do to make life better, and tiny, tiny, tiny steps can make massive changes if you can just introduce them into your life. Now, remember what I was saying about the diet industry and diets and dieting is, so you're living normal life and you've gained weight. Then you go and do a new thing and you change your behavior to achieve something. So you lose the weight. When you've achieved that, you stop doing that new thing and you go back to the only thing you've got left to go back to, which is normal. When you go back to normal, you put on the weight. So you go on a diet. And if you know people who've been serial dieters for 30 or 40 years, that's what's happened over and over and over again. But if you take one new habit and you introduce it to your day, and it becomes just a thing that you do every day, forevermore, that your intention is, when I get up in the morning, I'm going for a 5-minute walk, or 10 o'clock, the devices go down and I'm going to get into bed. I'm going to take my water bottle wherever I go and try and get in a couple of litres of water a day. The more of the little tiny things that make a tiny little difference. I'm going to park at the far end of the supermarket every time I go, so that I have to walk across the car park and back again is a few hundred extra steps. Every tiny little change that you can add to your life and consistently keep in your life, that's transforming your whole life. If you want any help with that, that's what I'm here for. And that might be coming on board and getting the support and getting involved and getting life feeling better that way. Or you might want to do your own thing. And so just some advice, some guidance, some pointers, some meal ideas, and go off and do your own thing, and stay in touch and let me know how you're getting on. Absolutely fine. But I'm only a message away. Let's have a chat if you want life to get better, and let's see what we can achieve. But what we can achieve is marvelous things. So you just need a little bit of faith in yourself. And if you don't have faith in yourself, I have faith in you. Our community has faith in you, and we can all work together. And you can even be anonymous and in the background, but still feel that presence and that support, that you're not on your own in your journey. So if you want life to feel better, get in touch, send me an email or send me a message on WhatsApp or on Messenger, and we'll have a chat and we'll see if we can get life feeling better, okay?